This video is for you if you want to know how the global economy will perform over the next several months and year. The global economy is currently going through a critical moment. The Federal Reserve, the world's largest bank, has taken actions that haven't been taken in decades. Here in this chart you will see that the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates from 0% to almost 6% in a matter of 12 months. But this is not the first time the Federal Reserve has done this. Here in this chart you will see the past hikes that the Federal Reserve has made in the last 50 years, and as you will see, this is one of the most violent hikes ever seen in history. You might be wondering now what all this has to do with anything and why it matters. The Federal Reserve, after all, is the one who sets the direction of the economy. They have the power to boost or restrain the economy. Even though the Federal Reserve serves as the country's central bank, this has an impact on everyone, including the value of equities, real estate, and even cryptocurrency. Thus, if you want to know the direction that the global economy is moving, this is going to be one of the most crucial videos that you view. After elucidating the ways in which the Federal Reserve is impacting the economy, I will also explicate why this represents an exceptional prospect for profit making, both in the up and down markets. Let's move on to our next topic. How does the Federal Reserve manage the economy? The U.S. government has directed the Federal Reserve to maximize the following three economic indicators: unemployment, economic growth, and inflation. Here, they apply their powers as the central bank to reduce unemployment, increase economic growth, and lower inflation. Interest rates set by central banks are the primary instrument at their disposal for this purpose. The Federal Reserve will increase bank rates in an attempt to slow down the economy if there is significant inflation, robust economic growth, and low unemployment. All debts typically see an increase in interest rates when central bank rates rise. This discourages the economy from borrowing more money and results in a drop in economic activity. On the other hand, the Federal Reserve lowers central bank rates to boost the economy when unemployment is high, economic growth is slow, and inflation is low. Low-interest debts encourage the economy to borrow more money, which quickens economic growth. And for the past 100 years, this is the boom and bust cycle that has characterized our economy. You can profit greatly from such a system if you have the ability to comprehend and predict it. Returning to the present day, the Federal Reserve has significantly increased central bank interest rates. Here you will see that in the last 12 months the Federal Reserve raised interest rates from 0% to almost 6%. This was one of the most aggressive interest rate hikes seen in recent decades. They claimed that the economy was expanding and that unemployment was at record lows, but they also hiked interest rates primarily in response to the high levels of inflation that we had been witnessing. As a result, they desire a slowdown in economic activity to help the economy stabilize. We've now reached a turning point where the Federal Reserve has succeeded in bringing inflation under control. Here you will see how inflation peaked at almost 9% a year ago, but is now hovering around 3%, and although this drop is strong, the Federal Reserve wants to see inflation hovering around 2% to make them feel comfortable. If you are enjoying this video and want to be aware of new videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Furthermore, the unemployment rate is still extremely low and the economy did not enter a technical recession despite the increase in interest rates. Consequently, the Federal Reserve will either maintain current interest rate increases or cut them after maintaining current levels. That's when the crucial detail enters the picture. The manner the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates puts the global economy at danger. All obligations, including mortgages and debts paid by the U.S. government, have increased in cost due to central bank interest rate increases. Here you will see how much money the U.S. government pays in interest alone on its record debt. As you will see, this skyrocketed and is now almost $1 trillion in interest alone. This sum is almost the size of Mexico's entire economy. Now I want to show you mortgage interest rates. As you will see, they are currently over 7%, while a year ago they were between 2 to 3%, and just to give you an idea, this was exactly the same move that the Federal Reserve made during the Great Recession of 2008. That is, they lowered the central bank interest rates after the dot-com crisis, as you will see here, and as the economy overheated, they began to raise the central bank interest rates until the crisis of 2008. During that crisis, the collapse of the housing market set off a series of domino effects that ultimately brought down the entire economy. And that gets us to the crucial query. What can we anticipate happening now that the economy is more leveraged than ever? This is where the intriguing part really begins. We are reaching a turning point where the Federal Reserve must make a decision, as I have indicated to you. The head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, seemed fairly impartial in his most recent speech. He stated that they aim to bring inflation down to 2% since they are still uncomfortable with it at this levels. He added that they can raise interest rates even further if needed because the economy is still robust and the unemployment rate is low. Additionally, he admits that they are navigating blindly and have no idea what will happen. I immediately had two questions. First, which economic sectors would be vulnerable to collapse? That is, which industries are in a bubble, have low demand for their goods and services, and are heavily indebted? What opportunities exist in this position to make money is the second inquiry. The ability to place bets on things that will increase in value or decrease in value is one of the best things about financial markets. For instance, you are set to purchase long when you think a stock will increase in value. On the other hand, you might profit by selling short when you think a stock will decrease in price. For instance, the price of oil typically rises when the economy overheats because there is a surplus of demand for energy and the oil-producing nations seek to maximize their earnings. As a result, they maintain production at a level where demand is high but prices rise. As you will see here, the price of oil has been rising over the last few years. Here you will see a drastic rise, which was when Russia invaded Ukraine. But it is keeping the price high at around $80 per barrel. Therefore, we might short the oil price and profit while it is declining if we think that the Federal Reserve's decision to raise central bank interest rates will cause the economy to slow down and lead to a disaster. This is only an illustration. Naturally, this is not a suggestion to buy. However, I would like to inform you that the economy is approaching a turning point and will most likely begin to contract. That's what the Federal Reserve wants, after all. Interest rates on central banks must be raised in order to reduce inflation. The economy will slow down because they have already upped them. And the enterprises with greater debt will be the most negatively impacted when the economy slows down, particularly if the debts are this high. For instance, businesses that deal in commercial real estate, such offices. Following the epidemic, many offices had a significant decline in business, particularly in Californian cities that are no longer seeing rapid expansion. If you come across businesses that are heavily indebted, you may be able to short these businesses. Which brings us to our question, will the Federal Reserve trigger an economic disaster, in your opinion? And which businesses do you believe will suffer as a result of this? Tell us what you think in the comments section.